Hola. I always wanted to say this, by the way. Hi, everyone. I'm really glad to be here in Malaga today. First time in Spain, and I'm really enjoying it. First of all, I would again like to ask you to give a huge round of applause to the organizers. It has been very nice experience so far, and yeah, a great job, really. And special mention, I really like the lanyards because it tells me everything, and I don't often find it, so it's pretty nice. As an accessibility advocate, I always love everything extra, which makes it easier for attendees and everyone else. So yeah. So today, I will be talking about how we can decode web accessibility through some of the testing techniques. We won't go deep. Instead, I want to show how we can think whenever we are creating or whenever we are using any website, how do we think more from accessibility perspective so that we understand better about our users and how they might be using our websites. So this is just a tweet. It's an old tweet by Lorraine where it says that, today my dad cried over the phone. He wanted 1 week where he could use his computer without my help. He is blind. Each inaccessible website tells him, you aren't welcome in this world. So if you don't know whether your website is or not accessible, it's not, start learning. So it's pretty sad tweet, but it also gives us an opportunity to understand that we can do better and we can make our websites more accessible for users. So thank you so much for giving a very nice introduction. So I'll skip most of the part. But if you would like to connect with me or have any questions even after the conference, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn at Anuradha15 or on Twitter at miracle_404. That's another day's story why that user is like that, username. But to keep it short, the topics we are going to discuss today, we will start with what is accessibility, and then we will see how to test for accessibility and the tools and tips. So before me, Andre did a very nice job on explaining a bit about accessibility, and he did a very nice deep dive on how to make iOS apps accessible. So he really made some of my jobs easier. So thank you for that. And another shout out to the conference. I really like that there are multiple accessibility talks on the conference, right? Like this topic is very important, and I would love for it to be emphasized everywhere a lot. To start, you can either scan the QR code or go to the link tinyurl.com/A11Y-testing, and you can get the slides there so that if you want to follow along or so you can just use it on your mobile, on laptop, and so on. Also for later. So let's get started. What is accessibility? So accessibility, which is also neuronamed as A11Y. So here 11 refers to the number of letters between the word accessibility from A to Y. And it means making the resources and services usable by everyone, regardless of their abilities or disabilities. Why is accessibility important? It is important because whatever we are building it for our users, right? Now, our users could be very diverse. They could have multiple types of abilities, multiple disabilities, and so we need to take care of all these things when we are building. Sadly, we don't really take care of all that stuff very often. As per WHO, or World Health Organization, around 15% of world population lives with some form of disability, and it translates to 1 billion people around the world. So there are different kinds of disabilities, like visual, auditory, motor, and cognitive. I really like this approach by Microsoft Inclusive Design, which has a very nice categorization of disabilities. So every type of disability can be categorized into 3 different parts, like permanent, temporary, and situational. And in general, this is a very nice guideline. So I would really suggest you to go and read this inclusive design guidelines. It's not only for design. As a developer, as a tester, as any part of the team member, we can go and learn more about inclusiveness from this document. Since we have multiple types of disabilities, multiple types of users, so we have different ways in which the users access our web. So like apart from just using mouse, like most of us, what we do, that we go, we create something, we use our mouse to test, click, click, scroll, oh yeah, it's working, let's ship it to production, right? But there are multiple people who might not use mouse at all. They might be using other stuff like keyboard. Yeah, I know 10x developers use keyboards, right? Like, I don't know, like I read it on Twitter. But yeah, keyboard is used by many people who might not use mouse or the scroll pad as well. So it is one of the very common assistive technologies, which are kind of devices or technologies that are used by disabled people to access the web. Then we have screen readers. So again, Andre, in all his examples, he gave a very nice overview of how voiceovers will read about the stuff and how you can interact with the user interfaces using different kinds of assistive technology like voiceover. So for every laptop or mobile or any machine, we always have one narrator or voiceover attached to it natively. So then there are other complex kinds of assistive technologies. So like this one is Braille display. So imagine that whatever is on the screen is getting converted maybe into some form of text, and then it's getting outputted as Braille, and then people can just touch and understand what is on the screen. So this is all possible when we are making a very nice accessible website. So now to the main topic. How do we test for accessibility? So all these things which I'm going to show you, they are not from a very strict testing team perspective. We are here, it's a developer conference, and I'm here as a developer to show you that how, whenever we are creating something, or maybe as a designer too, whenever I'm designing, or in general, how we can see our websites, our applications, and do a bit of a testing about accessibility. So it doesn't have to be directly in the testing phase or on the last sprint of our release, right? OK, this is the last sprint, now let's go and do the accessibility testing, like Victoria mentioned about the security. So shifting left is also a concept in accessibility where it's very nice if we start thinking about accessibility from the very start, from the inception of the idea to the release into the production and more beyond. So we are going to cover how to use the keyboard to test for accessibility, screen readers, and some of the browser tools and extensions. Before that, one very important thing. So web accessibility has certain guidelines. So it has official guidelines which are called WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And they are all categorized into four different principles, which are acronymed as POUR. So this is very important. So whenever, what I think is, when I always think from POUR perspective, so this might help you in a bit, in some ways. So P stands for perceivable. So let's see, we are building something. So first thing we need to think of is that whatever we are building, can it be perceived by our user? By any of their senses. If they can see, they should be able to see and understand what is it. If they can hear, they should be hear and understand that what that is. Or through touch, like any of their senses, they should be able to perceive what is on our screen. For example, a very small example, but let's say it's a button. So UX is important of a button, like you see, you understand it's a button, oh, I can click on it. But if we don't use proper semantic HTML, if it's just a div or a span, so it's not mostly keyboard focusable if you don't write extra code. In that case, if someone who is using a keyboard, they will skip over the button. They might not even go to the button. So they won't be able to perceive also that there was a button somewhere which they had to click. Then O, understand for operable. Now that maybe as a user, I have perceived that, OK, there is a button there, so I need to be able to operate on it, right? Maybe I'm going to buy something, so I need to click on the buy button in order to buy it, right? Now, again, if we are not using proper semantic HTML and we have not written proper code, then most of the times you cannot click on the button. Even if through keyboard you wrote maybe tab index equal to 0 and the button is focusable, we press enter and we see that the button is not doing anything. So we should be able to operate on the element. Understandable. Whatever content which is on website, is it understandable by the user? For example, let's say there is a form, and there are 10 fields on the form to fill. If we haven't properly labeled, which is sadly a very common scenario that forms is not properly labeled. if they are not properly labeled, then the user won't be able to understand that what they have to fill in those forms. So they should understand what they have to do in order to go and do that action. Robust. So I think Glenn, just a while ago, before lunch, he gave a very nice talk where he also talked about robust UI. So the definition of robust almost remains the same. Robust means that whatever we are creating, it should work properly across all the user residents, across the browser. Assistive technology should be able to understand what we are creating, and they should be able to interact with the users. So the first thing, using keyboards. What can we test for when we are using the keyboards? So this is the most simplest thing which we can do. So, and once you start doing it, it becomes kind of a mindset. Like for me, what happens whenever I go through any website, the first thing I do is I start using keyboard and see that, OK, is this website really accessible through keyboard? Just most basic test. So this is what you can do even today, like once you go back home or during break, whatever. Just go and open the website which you are working on, or maybe one good website which you really like going to, and use the keyboard and see that are you really able to do all the actions, or are you able to navigate properly using just the keyboards. So what you can test is, it's not an extensive list. I will just list out very important points. So the first, which is very important point, is are all the interactive elements reachable when we are using a keyboard, right? Like if I can just use a keyboard and I need to buy something, or maybe I need to check some information, I need to be able to click on that element. I need to be able to fill that form. So I need to reach to that element and trigger the action, right? So this is what we test when we are using the keyboard. So I'm going to use Malaga Transport website to show a bit about it. So transportation is one of the important services, right? And as a person who is visiting first time to Spain, I went to check to Malaga Transport website, right, to know that what are different ways of transportation. A disclaimer also that I have just picked up few websites to test. It's not to call out, but it would be really nice if people fix it after seeing this, right? Like, we all need to work together and fix. It's not a blame game or something. It's just that we all need to work together to make web better and safer for everyone. So let's see. So this is the Malaga Transport website. And OK, one thing, people in the back, if you are not able to see properly, then raise your hands. And if you are able to see, then that's fine. OK. I guess, OK, so, but at any point in time, if you see that you are not able to understand properly, then let me know. I will just make it a big bolder, or bigger, maybe. So, yeah. So I just went there, and I'm starting to tab through it, and maybe go to customer service or something. So I press tab first time. So a thing is visible called skip to main content, which is a good thing. It's an accessibility feature where you don't want to tab through all the links before going to the main content. You can click on that or press enter, and you will come here, OK? But for now, I would like to navigate through. This, I tabbed again. I think this is supposed to be somewhere near the drop-down, selectioner idioma. So, but I'm not able to figure out, let's say I have tapped few times. So can someone in the audience tell me that where I am currently on this screen, right? Like, as a user, even I am tabbing. So either I need to count and see, or go with my faith and press enter if I really want to use it. Otherwise, maybe I'll just ditch the website. But I'm just trying to tab and know, but I don't know, I'm tabbing. By the way, I'm tabbing. And it's not that it's not there. It's there. It's a very subtle hint. Currently, I'm at City Hall. And how do I know it? Because on my screen, I can see a bit of change in contrast. It's a bit bolder than other colors, which is, again, the color is not the only thing which we rely on. So, but just by doing this 1 minute of testing, I got to know if I were working on this, I would know that what to do. Maybe I will add some focus rings on it so that the users, it's more intuitive. Users really know that where they are and what they want to do next. So this is one of the very basic tests which we can do. And sadly, it's very common. It looks like very small, but it's so common. Second thing is, which is very important, even if I reach on that button, I should be able to click on it or like activate the action in order to proceed, right? Even if I cannot trigger the action, again, it's futile because I'm still not able to do anything, right? So it was a bit hard for me to find, but I found this website because I was searching for what are the good souvenirs to take from Spain, of course. So this website. And cookies, I don't know, if someone loves cookies? You love cookies? Okay, it's nice to know, though. It's good. Like, we shouldn't hate things. Very good, good message. But yeah, I absolutely hate cookies anyways. So this website, anytime it comes up, the first thing I want to do, I really want to reject. Where is the reject button? I want to reject the cookies. But OK, there is no reject button. That's fine. It's in the manage settings, maybe. So what I will do, I am trying to tab because I want to go to the manage settings. It looks like a button to me. I should be tab and go through that, right? I'm tabbing multiple times, like I'm tabbing, but it doesn't go there. So it was very frustrating for me, at least. But I can click, so maybe I can still click on it. But the users who are totally reliant on the keyboards, right, how will they reject the cookies? They don't have any other option rather than just accepting, right? So the problem here is, again, what I told, that not using semantic HTML. These are divs. These are buttons, but these are divs and style. So if we have a button, we can just use a semantic HTML and really get accessible things out of the box. So this was the biggest issue here. So we saw through website, and we did some testing, and we found few problems. Like, first was there was no focus. The outline was none, and that's why we couldn't really see where we were on the website. We also saw that we couldn't click on the cookies. Like, I really wanted to reject it. I couldn't reject it. I don't know if I was able to accept or not, but I don't want to try and click on that button, to be honest. So using non-semantic HTML element is a big no, unless it is really important. Then we need to write extra JavaScript to make it accessible. So all these were result of not testing enough with keyboard. So if we would have just opened the keyboard, used the keyboard and saw, we would have known that, OK, there are a few issues which we can resolve and make it a better experience for users. So these are the tips which you can follow. Screen readers. So as I mentioned earlier, that every device has an inbuilt screen reader as well. There is a NVDA, which you can install in Windows. JAWS also is something which you can install. Mac has a built-in voiceover, which we are going to use today because I have Mac. And Orca is for Linux. So one important thing about screen readers is that it's not as simple as using a keyboard, sadly. Like, it takes a bit of playing around to understand that what is the flow of screen reader. But there are different shortcuts. Like, there is one misconception about screen readers, that users just keep on tabbing until they find something which they are supposed to do or click on. It's not like that. There are multiple shortcuts in which users navigate, and we will see one of these today. And so I have just listed few links, so you can go and read more about it. And one it's a very nice link which I really like. It's a YouTube video on how a screen reader user surface the web, right? So what I have found is that if we see users really using the web in different ways, we get more empathy and we understand better about a user, that how users can have different flow. And that makes us better as developers, as designers, or testers. So what do we test for when we are using a screen reader? A very important thing is landmarks. So imagine that we are going to a blog, right? We are going to read a blog. So if we have a heading structure in blog, it really gives a very nice overview, right? Like, we already know that, OK, these are the points covered in the blog. Maybe we would like to see just the tips. We click on that. We directly go to the tips part, and we read it, right? We don't need to really read through every line to understand. Same are landmarks, and they serve as similar for the screen reader users. First of all, they provide a structure to the page, so we know already that where are the headings and navigations and footer, so on. And these are very important navigation technique which is used by the users who are using screen readers. So The second thing is, we will see all the example, but I will just like to go through all the points. The second thing is using alternative description for media. So if we have images or video or audio in our websites or applications, so we need to have alternative text for that, because the person who cannot see or who are totally reliant on screen readers, the only way they will know that what information we are passing on through the images if they hear some kind of text. And for that, we need to put all text for the images. Then, for audio and video, if we have a podcast or if we are creating a video and so on, having a transcript really works and the subtitles, because then users can understand that what is on the screen. This is actually also beneficial if we are looking at some, like a video in some different language and they have the transcript, so we can still read through it and understand in a different language. So the advantages are multifold of all the things when we make things accessible. Form labels. So as I said about forms, so OK, there is an example. So now, first of all, I'm going to show you about the landmarks. So let's take this example only. So what I'm going to do is start voiceover. So in Mac, we can go through accessibility settings via system preferences and then switch on the voiceover. But one thing, if you are switching it on for the first time, what happens is it will be very fast by default. So you will have to do some of the settings in order to make it better. So like for me, I have reduced the speed of the speech so we can understand it better. Otherwise, the users who are used to using voiceover, they really use it in a very fast way because they are used to all the shortcuts and the interaction with the voiceover. So I'm switching on the voiceover, and it will read stuff for you. So
link, skip to main content, link, skip to main content, menu pop-up, link, selection or idioma, list 4, link, list 4 items.
So I just muted it because otherwise it would go on reading. But you see how it starts reading, right? So the first thing which I want to show you is called a rotor, which is how users can navigate. So it's kind of a voiceover shortcut. And I think Andrea mentioned about the rotors in his talk as well. What can I do? I will press Control Option U.
Landmarks menu.
On the screen, and we can see landmarks. So if I don't want to navigate through all the things, I just maybe want to go to navigation part or main or maybe footer or so on. So I can directly
banner, navigation.
So I can scroll through it and actually go to the different portions which I want. So that's why it's very important to properly label all of our parts. Like for here, there are 3 navigation, but they all just say navigation. So if they will just say navigation, I don't know which one is main navigation, which is maybe some secondary navigation and so on. So we can also label those so that it's more understandable to the user. Then this is just one part which structures.
Form controls menu.
There's also another one which is very important, is like form controls. So if we have forms, buttons, inputs, and all, they get listed as separate controls, which is very efficient for the users. They just want to find out where the login form is or when the sign-up form is. They can directly go here and go to the form, right?
Headings menu.
Headings are very important because, again, they provide the structure. And if we have good headings, here I don't see any heading 1 and heading 2, but normally every page should have heading 1, which is like the heading of your page, what your page does, maybe in a short. Like here, it could just be EMT or what this website is about. I can transport, yeah. So like that. And so every level of heading gives a structure that this is a sub-content and so on. So these are some of the ways in which user uses. Now,
Object replacement character. No items in headings menu.
Yeah. OK.
Link.
Yeah. So now Facebook, Twitter, and if you see the icon, these are just icons and there is no text. So here, what is the problem is there is no alt text to them or the label. So what happens is if we can see the icon and identify that this will take us to Facebook, but the screen reader is just reading it as a link.
Link.
It just says link, so I don't know where it will take me, so I won't click on it. What if it's some malicious link, right? Like, what if it hacks me or so? So it becomes very difficult if we don't label things properly, and this is again an example of alternative text as an icon, but yes, because there is no alt text to that image or icon, so the user cannot figure out that what that link is or where it will take us. So stop.
Voiceover off.
Okay. Then for form label, I have an example, and I'll just play it in the here.
Navigation. Edit text. Blank. Edit text. Blank. Edit text email. Blank. Edit text email. Blank. Submit button.
So here we had multiple text controls and email controls. So now if you have multiple controls and it was not labeled properly, so we couldn't figure out that what really we have to fill in it. So I had purposely applied a filter of blur to the screen so that we don't really see what is there. Because normally when the users are using screen readers, they might have certain kind of situation that the vision is blurred or maybe they cannot see at all. So we need to kind of replicate that. Otherwise, if we see and we test, then it's more like, OK, I know that we have to fill first name there, right? So this is also one of the debugging techniques which you can apply if you would like to. But it always says blank, blank, so we really don't know what we have to fill in. So whenever we are labeling forms, often we just use span and div to label it. So let's not use any non-semantic HTML again here to label the forms. Even if we use labels and if we use it separately, just a label and just an input, it again will not label it properly. So instead, what we should do is either we wrap the element inside label. In that case, it gets labeled properly. Or we write the for. Like we say that, hey, this label is for this input, which has an ID of email. So if we label it properly, it's going to read it properly.
Voiceover on Chrome. First name, edit text. Last name, edit text. Email, edit text email. Confirm email, edit text email. Submit button.
So yeah, it will read properly, and we know specifically what we have to fill in all the controls. Then dynamic changes. Often we have dynamic events on our websites. Let's say there's a form and we fill it. Then there's some feedback to the user, right? Like it's successful or failure, right? So on. So let's see an example.
Voiceover on Chrome. Which conference are you attending? W-8-Y, wet, W-8-Y, wet, W-8-B. Wet, say hi. Button.
So there was a button, and it asked that which conference are you attending? And I filled the conference name, and I entered that button. But nothing happened after that. So I don't know what happened when I entered the conference name, right? So, but we can make it better, and then how will be the behavior?
Voiceover on which conference are you attending? W-8-Y, wet, W-8-Y, wet, W-8-B. Say hi. Button. Hello there. Welcome to Weiwei Web Conference.
So feedback can be read to the user if we write it properly. And how we can do that is, so normally this is Svelte code, but again, all the concepts are transferable to any format, right? Any framework or library. So here, this is a div which has message. So we can mark it as live. So we can say that, hey, this is actually a live reason. So what this makes is that whenever the data gets inputted to that div or that content, it will read out to the user. So users know that this is an important information, and they got notified of that. So this has a very good use case, and we should be able to mark it as live. Then the third one is browser tools and extensions. So there are multiple things which we have in DevTools, which we can use to test for accessibility. There is Lighthouse. We also have extensions of Axe. Then there is Accessibility Pane, and there is a very nice tool by Microsoft, which is called Accessibility Insights for Web. I will just show you DevTools, and we can see that how we can test for it. So for example, let's say we again go to this website, and so if we open the developer tools in Chrome, I'm in Chrome, we can go to a Lighthouse. It's already there. We can say that I want to check for accessibility and analyze the page load. It will reload the page, and it will give a very nice information about accessibility. And if there are some errors, it will show. But one caveat here is that it is just automated test, right? So this doesn't cover all of accessibility issues. So it gives a score. Even if the score is 100, it will not mean that our website is accessible. And it also says here that only a subset can be automatically detected. And actually, on average, people have found out that 30 to 40% of accessibility issues can be found during using these tools. So here we can check errors. You can know the div in which there is error, and we can read more about it. Axe extension is an extension, and it does similar. Actually, Lighthouse is built on the concepts from Axe itself. So here also, we can go and scan the page, and it will give us a similar report, which is pretty nice. One important thing which I would like to show you is Elements tab. So in Elements tab, normally we see our HTML, but there is one pane called Accessibility pane. So here, we can find accessibility information about any element on the page. So let's say, let's maybe go to a, so, OK, is there a link? Yeah, this is a link. So let's go to the link. This is not a link. Yeah, maybe. SVG, div. So anyways, I think we can, well, it wasn't big. Yeah. So let's see this, because yeah, this didn't work properly, right? So this is a list and an anchor tag. Now I can see in anchor tag, there is no name for it. So here, name, there is no name, it's empty. That's why it just pronounced link, because we didn't give data to it that what is the name of the link. So we can use this accessibility pane and inspect elements and see that what is the information which is being passed on to the assistive technologies. So it is a very nice tool to understand about accessibility. So these were some of the tools and which you can go and play around with and see more about. And so to conclude, whatever we are building, we should test using keyboards, screen readers, browser tools and extensions. And also, whenever we are building something, we should always think from user perspective, and we should test for accessibility from the very start. So focus on everything, just as we focus on everything else, just focus on accessibility. And I have an action item, just last thing. If you learned something, please pass on the learnings. We really need lots of awareness around accessibility, right? So talk to your teammates, talk to your friends, and let's all work together to make the web more accessible. Some resources, and thank you. Gracias. Thank you.